welcome back. Here's a note. We went through the React Native and we talked about setting up the scroll view. I have notes for that in the lesson too, so you can follow. You can just read the notes here and check your code against what's in the lesson. Okay, so this all goes through the scroll view. I actually used title here and I used name when I did the demo in the video. So I did mix up the a couple of variable names here, but otherwise this is the same. Okay, so let's talk about using the list view. Okay, so I have some notes on using the list view here, and then I'll go through and demo it right now. Okay, you can read the notes here or you can follow the video demo. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, what we're going to do first is we're going to create a flat list. Okay, and React Native gives us a couple different lists. Flat list is the easier one to work with, so we're going to just start with flat list, and you can usually use this for most anything. And the thing about the list view here is it's so common on mobile devices. You should have this in your back pocket and mastered because it's just used everywhere on mobile. Okay, and you can get pretty creative with how you use it. It doesn't have to just look like a list in your contacts, right? You can style each of the cells in the list to look like anything. So anyway, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import the flat list, and then we're going to set the data. And so the data prop is always an array. Okay, so it's always an array. So let's set that up. I'm going to go get my app here, and I'll get my simulator. So it's going to, what we get when we're done is it's going to look very similar to this, except it's going to use the flat list instead of the scroll view. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go to app.js, and then I'm going to import the flat list. Okay, so I got flat list here, and what we're going to do is instead of the scroll view, right, I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to use the flat list instead. Okay, and let me move this out of the way here, and I'm going to add flat list here. Okay, and so the flat list is just a single tag. It doesn't have any children. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to set the data equal to our array. Okay, so I set the array, and then it says, hey, you know, your list is missing some things, right? Yeah, so we need to add some more stuff here, but this is getting us started. Okay, I got flat list, and I gave it a data source. Okay, so it's going to pull the information it needs from this array. So next what we're going to do is we're going to render items. Okay, so we're going to get the render item prop, and we're going to set it equal to a function. So the function begins here, and then this is the body of the function, right? And this function takes in an object that can be deconstructed into two properties, item and index. So item is one of the values from this array, and index is the index of that value, right? And what render item expects us to return is a component that will be displayed as one row in our flat list. Okay, so let's do that. And again, remember, I used name in the earlier video, and then I realized that in my text notes here, I used the name title. So be aware of that, right? Okay, so let's do it here. So we're going to do render item equals, and then we're going to put a function in here. Okay, so I've got the whole function typed out, and then it actually gives us an object here, and this object we can deconstruct to item and index. Okay, and then we're expected to return a component. So I'm going to take our item component and return it here. And again, remember, I used name in my demo, so I'm going to use name here. And then this item right here is the name of my cat breed. So I'm going to pass that here. I'm going to say item.breed. Breed. there we go. Let's see. Oh yeah, and there's my list is back again. Okay, so now this list is similar to the last one, but it's working on a different mechanism. So what's going to happen is as cells slide off the bottom, they get recycled to the top. So the flat list is just calculating how many cells it needs to fill the page, which actually it fills the page automatically in my case. But if I made these any larger, it wouldn't, right? So anyway, so we're started there. Maybe I also want to include the index here. So it looks like I included the index here as a string, right? But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do mine a little bit differently here than what I did in the, sorry, I kind of mixed up my windows there. Let's see. So I think I'm going to do a little differently here. I kind of feel like it might be better to do index as a prop, right? And I can put the index here, okay? So we'll do index there. And now if I want to display the index, maybe I'll do that inside the item component. And you know, here I have the name, and then maybe over here in front of the name, I'll deconstruct to get the index, right? So I'll get that from props, and then I'll put the index here. So I have a space between these two strings, right? So hopefully, yeah, there we go. So I got the name. Maybe I could put a colon in there, right? Okay, so now it says, you know, yeah, 0 is Abyssinian, number 1 is American bobtail, number 2 is American curl. So notice that the cells go up above the screen. They actually stop right at the top edge, but it gets caught in this notch and the status bar area. So what can we do about that? Okay. Oh, pardon me. So this is looking pretty good, but what can we do about this status bar at the top? So what I'll do is they actually give us a component for this, right? So I'm going to go back to app.js, and at the top here where it says import from React Native, I'm going to import another component. So I'm going to import safe area view, okay? And safe area view kind of scans the screen and figures out what's safe. And what's safe also depends on the model of phone you have, right? So it kind of knows if you have a phone with a notch or a phone without the notch, okay? So we're going to take safe area view, and I'm going to wrap all of my components here in the safe area view. Okay, so I got everybody wrapped in safe area view, and now I get, like, it doesn't show anything, right? So my problem here is that the safe area view isn't expanding to take up the whole screen. So what I want to do is take the style here for container and move it up to safe area view. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So now the safe area view, the trick here is that, and this is kind of a thing in React Native, is if you have a view, it'll basically collapse to be 0 height unless you tell it how big it needs to be, right? And you can give it a height or a width, but if we just want it to expand to fill the space, you need to set the flex property to 1, right? So when I set container and I give it flex 1, it expands to fill the space. Okay, otherwise it collapses to be the minimum height or minimum size. Okay, so anyway, you can see here that when we use the safe area view also, this avoids the notch, right? So that's looking pretty good. Okay, and then now you can see my scrolling is actually kind of having some effect because the last cat gets kind of off the bottom edge of the screen there, right? So that's working pretty good. So my challenge now to you is to pass in some properties here, right? And you can follow, there's a couple other notes here. Oh yeah, let's actually do the key extractor before we're done. So it doesn't show it here. Maybe it'll show me an error message here, but it's probably going to say somewhere, maybe it even says it in the terminal. You know, in React, whenever you have a list, you need to give a key prop to each unique cell in the list. And the same is true with the flat list, right? So what we want to do is we want to assign a special property to each item. And since the items are generated dynamically through this render item right here, what we do is we use this key extractor method. So key extractor is a function that takes the item, so that's something from the list, and then it returns the key, right? So if our breed names are unique, we can just return the breed name as a unique key. You can also generate a key in other ways, okay? Like if your object had a special key property or an ID or something, okay? So let's add that before we're done here. So I'm going to go back to my app.js, go to the flat list here, and then after the render items, I'll get the key extractor and I'll set it equal to a function. And the goal here is this function is going to take in an item. Since it only has the one parameter, I think it also gets the index too. So if this is only one parameter, then I can just use that item there, right? And then I'm going to return, since I'm just going to return one thing, I'll just put it on the same line here, and we'll do item.breed. And I know the breeds are all unique, so I can just use the breed name here, right? Oh, there we go. So that kind of got rid of that error at the bottom there. Pixie Bob is a cat breed, never knew. Okay, so we got our key extractor. What else do we need to do here? I think that looks pretty good. So my challenge for you now is this, okay? So once you've got the key extractor in there, your challenge is this, okay? For each cat, you want to display all the information about that cat, okay? All of the data. So to get you started, the cat data is all in this object right here. So maybe I'll just make a data property, right? And put the item there, okay? And maybe I'll leave the index alone, and maybe I'll get rid of the name, right? So I just have index and data, because the breed name will also be in the data, so we don't need to duplicate that, right? And when I go to the item here, I no longer have the name, but I do have the data from props, and then I can get the breed name like this. I can say breed equals data, right? And I don't have breed anymore, or I don't have name anymore, so I'm going to replace that with breed, okay? So that should be what we had before, but now I have the problem that I have in this data, I also have a lot of other information, and it's not the same for every animal. So your goal is to look through the data and extract each of the values here, or each of the keys and the value that goes with it, and print the key and the value inside this item component down here, okay? Right? But it's going to be different for every cat and dog breed, right? So here's a tip, right? If you want to get all of the keys in an object, you can do it this way. You can say key, let's say keys equals object.keys, and then you can get the data. Now when I do this, I'm actually going to duplicate the breed, because breed will be a key on here. Okay, so now this is all the keys. So if I want to display those, I can map them down here. This doesn't have the data though. So to get the data, we'd have to do key bracket data, right? So I'll do that. I'm going to leave that up to you to solve as a challenge, but maybe I'll cover it in the next video. Okay, but there's your challenge, right? So here we have the keys, and now we have to get the values and then print both down here, and then maybe not print the breed twice, okay? And then also you can style, right? So style everything that you have here, okay? And then that'll get us started on a pretty good system here, right? So thanks for watching, and I hope that that is helpful for you, and let me know what you think, or if you have any questions in the comments.